As a story for the jury, the case that prosecutors are making against Donald Trump is alternatively salacious and mundane, engrossing testimony interspersed with humdrum details like the banking documents we were seeing today. But all of that, again, to advance the story. As an op-ed in the New York Times puts it, it is not unusual for lawyers to give narrative arcs to their legal theories, reasons to care about the evidence, and animating thoughts that may make jurors more inclined to convict or acquit. The key is to offer one that is both captivating and closely tied to the facts, so that when the jurors put the pieces of evidence together, it is a story they believe. So, where are we in the story prosecutors want to tell? Where are they going? And which witnesses to come will help them fill in the blanks? Criminal defense attorney and MSNBC legal analyst Annie Savalas joins me now. So people clearly and understandably think that the flashiest witnesses might be Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, even Michael Cohen. But are they the most important people necessarily to this narrative?
Sometimes the most important witness can be the most boring witness. And especially in a white-collar type case like this, you look at a character like Gary Farrow. He's not one of the big names in the case. And even some of the testimony got a little dense, but he's critical to establishing one of the transactions. You could almost say that after Gary Farrow's testimony, that the transaction involving Michael Cohen and Davidson, the transfer, the setup of the account, the funding, all of that, you could almost argue that the people have already met their burden already with Gary Farrow. Now, one of the things the defense pointed out is Gary Farrow didn't know much about Donald Trump. That's fine. The people will address that on their own. But here's another example of a witness whose name you may have heard of, but she may not be on the stand that long. Still very important is a Hope Hicks, right? So Hope Hicks, she was involved. She was at some of these meetings, both in 2015, 2018. David Pecker talked about that. Now, we also don't know what exactly she'll testify to, but we know she met with the grand jury, and we know the people may call her. And if the people call her, she's got something that's really interesting and relevant to the case.
We also know that he trusts her implicitly, and so he would not have edited himself in any way, presumably, in conversations with her.
Maybe, maybe not. But often the person who is around someone like Trump all the time, the Madeleine Westerhout, the Hope Hicks, they may not have something disclosed to them in confidence. But if you're around that much, you overhear things. So just like David Pecker testified at the 2015 meeting, Hope Hicks was in and out and she wasn't really there. That doesn't mean Hope Hicks didn't have ears and wasn't listening. Hope Hicks may have heard a lot more than even Donald Trump knows that she knows. So that is why someone like Hope Hicks, the other reason she's a solid witness is she doesn't have the same credibility issues of, say, a Michael Cohen and even arguably a David Pecker.
But let's talk about Michael Cohen, because he was sold as the star witness, right, in all of this. Talk about him as a witness with credibility problems.
So this is a great example. Michael Cohen far and away will be the star witness, and I use that in quotes, because he's the one everybody's waiting to hear from. But ultimately, when the smoke clears, is he the most critical witness to the people's case? Yes, he is, in the sense that he was at the center of this transaction. And yes, the people have already said that he has credibility issues. They got on top of that in the front of the case. And you have to do that as prosecutors. You have to acknowledge people with credibility issues, and Michael Cohen is one of those people. But with all of these other witnesses, Michael Cohen's credibility problems start to fall away. When David Pecker corroborates it, when Gary Farrow corroborates the transactions and the documents, now you don't worry so much about Michael Cohen's credibility. You can talk about it in the open.
Let's briefly touch on Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels.
Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels are actually very different characters, even though they occupy similar spaces in that both allegedly had relationships with Donald Trump. But Karen McDougal, I mean, arguably, you don't really even need much of her testimony at all. She's certainly an interesting witness, but in terms of proving things, there isn't a whole lot more that you get out of Karen McDougal that hasn't already been introduced or will be introduced by Davidson, the attorney, or by Gary Farrow, who described the transactions. You could make the argument that they barely need Karen McDougal, but they more likely need a character like Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels, her transaction is at the center of this case. But again, I say that if you have enough Gary Farrow testimony, you have enough testimony by other people who know about the transaction, you don't...
But the jury's going to want to see her.
You've got to call Stormy Daniels, and you probably have to call Karen McDougal. Again, the fact that a witness is interesting doesn't always correspond to their essential nature to the prosecution prosecution's case in chief.
Danny Savalas, so great. Thank you so much.